What if death didn't bring you peace, but a terrifying glimpse into your own darkest secrets? Olivia Hayes had always believed the afterlife was peaceful, until the moment she died and was pulled into a world where nothing was what it seemed. Now, she must uncover the horrors that lie beyond death's door, before they consume her forever. It was on a rainy Tuesday evening that everything changed. She had just finished a late shift at the hospital and was driving home, the wipers of her car working overtime against the sheets of rain that fell in waves. Her tired eyes barely had time to register the headlights blinding her as another car came speeding around the corner. The crash was deafening. One moment, Olivia was gripping the steering wheel, and the next, everything went black. The world was silent. Then, Olivia felt a presence, a cold, creeping sensation as if someone or something was watching her. Her body felt weightless, her thoughts disjointed. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The scene before her was unrecognizable. She wasn't in her car anymore. Where was she? She was standing on an endless plain of black. No sky, no ground beneath her feet, just an unbroken, suffocating darkness stretching for miles. But the worst part? The air was heavy with a quiet hum, as though the darkness was alive. "Hello?" she called out, but her voice didn't echo. It just disappeared into the blackness. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of her, stepping out of the shadows like a ghost from a nightmare. It was a woman, but there was something deeply wrong about her. A woman with hollow eyes and a face too still, like a porcelain doll. "You shouldn't be here," the woman said, her voice like ice. Olivia's heart pounded. "Where am I? What happened to me?" "You crossed over," the woman replied, her lips curling into something like a smile, but it was cold, predatory. "You've crossed the threshold." Before Olivia could respond, the darkness around her shifted, transforming into a new scene. She was back in her own home, standing in her kitchen. Everything looked the same until she saw herself. There she was, sitting at the kitchen table, crying, clutching a letter in her hands, her younger self. She recognized the date. It was from years ago when she had made the decision to leave her first love behind to marry her husband, Daniel. The decision had destroyed her heart, and now she was reliving the moment when it happened. "Why did you leave him?" the ghostly woman whispered behind her. Olivia turned to face her, but the woman was gone. The scene shifted again. Olivia found herself standing at a cemetery, her own mother's grave, but this time it wasn't empty. A figure stood there, cloaked in shadows, leaning over the gravestone. She could make out the figure's face, but it was unfamiliar. Yet there was something deeply disturbing about it. The figure turned toward her, its face now revealed, horrifyingly familiar. It was Olivia's reflection, the same face she saw every day in the mirror, but twisted and distorted. The reflection smirked at her, its eyes full of judgment. "You left her behind too," it hissed. "You could have been there for her, but you weren't. And now, you'll pay the price." Olivia's heart stopped in her chest. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. The ground beneath her began to crack, the blackness swirling and shifting, and she fell again, into something even darker, deeper than before. When she landed, she was in a cold, empty room. No windows, no doors, just a single flickering light above her, illuminating nothing but her own terrified face. Then, it all hit her. This wasn't just some afterlife. This was her personal hell. Her regrets, her mistakes, her unresolved guilt. All of it had manifested here in the shadows, waiting to consume her. She hadn't just died. She had entered a place where the darkest parts of herself could no longer hide. Suddenly, she felt the presence of the woman again, only now she was not alone. Hundreds of figures surrounded Olivia, their faces hidden in shadow, whispering her name. Each voice was her own, twisted and accusing. "You should have been better, you abandoned us. You left him, you're not good enough." The voices grew louder, more frenzied. Olivia fell to her knees, clutching her head, trying to block out the screams that echoed through her skull. This was it. She wasn't just trapped in the afterlife, she was trapped by her own decisions, her own actions. There was no escape. But then, amidst the chaos, a calm voice broke through the madness. "Olivia." It was soft, gentle, yet powerful. The room around her seemed to pause for a moment. Everything stopped. Olivia looked up, her breath ragged. There, standing in the center of the room, was the woman from before, the one with the hollow eyes. But this time, the woman's expression was different. It was kind. "You have a choice," the woman said, her voice reverberating through Olivia's soul. "You can remain here with your guilt forever, or you can return and confront the life you've left behind." Olivia's heart raced. The choice was hers, but she didn't know if she was strong enough to face the consequences of her past. Could she live with the mistakes she had made? Could she truly move forward? With trembling hands, she stood, her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how," she whispered, but the woman nodded. "You'll find a way," she said softly, as the world around her began to shift. As Olivia felt herself being pulled away from the darkness, she realized that the true horror of death wasn't what awaited on the other side. It was the truths we try to bury in life. Would she return with the courage to face her past? Or would she forever remain lost in the shadows of her own regrets? The veil between life and death may be thin, but the choice is always yours.